Are you ready for the quantum age?
Humanity's next step in evolution?
Dream Vision 7 Radio Network invites you to the extraordinary platform of Evolutionary Voices for the Quantum Age.
Let's explore. Learn more about this upcoming age where we bridge science with spirituality.
Where potentiality meets reality.
Where we take compassion into action.
Our trailblazers and visionaries will ask the whys, the what-ifs, while igniting continuous possibility.
Come along with us into an age beyond what we know today, where we can grow together in unity consciousness.
Experience Evolutionary Voices for the Quantum Age, Monday through Friday at 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. Eastern on DreamVision7Radio.com. Welcome to What's in Your Way is the Way with your host, Mary O'Malley, inviting you to open to the radical notion that in your life, whatever you perceive to be in your way is the way. In other words, your challenges, whether they be relationships, compulsions, finances, or illness, come with gifts embedded in them that can bring healing and allow you to experience the joy of being fully alive. Mary is a counselor, awakening mentor, inspirational speaker, and the author of What's in the Way is the Way, the gift of our compulsions, belonging to life, and the magical gift of aliveness. What's in Your Way is the Way with Mary O'Malley is part of Evolutionary Voices for the Quantum Age. Heard Monday through Friday at 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. Eastern on the Dream Vision 7 Radio Network.
Welcome to What's in Your Way is the Way. I'm your host, Mary O'Malley, and today we're exploring the most important person in the world. So who possibly could be the most important person in the world? It's you. Take a moment and just notice what your mind did with that. You are the most important person in the world. And you deserve to understand that. You deserve to receive your own respect. You deserve your own kindness. And yet that is not how we've trained to be with ourselves. In fact, we think that being kind with ourselves is selfish. Or respecting ourselves is, that is just being an overinflated ego. And yet, one of the most important things you can do to help heal the world is to shift your relationship with yourself out of this old way that diminishes you, that sees you then that as less than, that believes that you don't deserve whatever it is. You don't deserve kindness, respect, care. We have been sold such a bill of goods. There's a quote I put in my book, Belonging to Life, from Wayne Muller. The greatest barrier to our own healing is not the pain, sorrow, or violence inflicted upon us as children. Our greatest hindrance is our ongoing capacity to judge, to criticize, to bring tremendous harm to ourselves. If we can harden our hearts against ourselves and meet our most tender feelings with anger and condemnation, we simultaneously armor our hearts against the possibility of gentleness, love, and healing. Such a powerful quote. And I wouldn't say it's our greatest hindrance. It is our greatest doorway to begin to see that we are all trained to be unkind with ourselves. We're all trained to believe that they have it together. Some mythical idea. We look at a runway model and we know they have it together because they have the kind of body they should have, and we have 20, 30, 40 extra pounds on our body, and yet so many of those models are addicted to heroin, to drugs, to overeating and binging. There is no such thing as a perfectly all-together human being. We're all works in progress, and we are all right where we need to be on our path. And with all of our mistakes we've made, which I call mistakes, we've never made a mistake. I love what Stephen Levine says, when you walk down the path of life and you go 2 feet, or you walk down the path of life when you fall down, you go 6 feet down the path of life. We've all made mistakes. We've all screwed up. And that doesn't mean that we don't deserve kindness. It doesn't mean that we don't deserve to meet ourselves in our own hearts. I know this so well because I so thoroughly put myself out of my own heart that I barely lived. At one time in my life, my whole focus was in trying to kill myself, and then I used to hate myself because I was a failure at suicide. Oh, dear, can you feel that self-hate? You may not have that self-hate at that level, but you have some version of it. So it began with, for me, with really two parents with very high IQs that were children in adult bodies and played games, and it was just a horror movie, and the more that a child's world is off when they're young, the more they feel responsible for it, and the more they take on these voices that judge themselves, that compare themselves to other people, and they always come up short. And so I lived in in a bedroom. We lived in different houses, but for most of the time I was growing up, I lived in a bedroom with an older sister. She was 2 years older than I was, and she was a bully. And her survival system was to be the best. And, of course, that meant I can't be good at anything. And she really dominated that bedroom. I had no say-so. And my mother asked her, when she was 12, my mother told me this right before she died. She said, I asked her what she was trying to do with you, and she said, I'll best her at everything that she will try. And it is true. I took up sewing, and then she took up sewing and made plaid pants the first time and if you sew at all, making pants is the most difficult garment to make, and plaid is the most difficult fabric to make because you got to match all the lines. And my mom said one day, the reason why she asked her that question is because she came into our bedroom one day, and my sister was standing with her legs straddled on either side of me. I was laying in bed. She was standing above me with her legs on either, feet on either side of me. And she was naked. And so she needed to dominate me. That was her survival system. And so I began to eat. The heartache of my childhood, the heartache of living in the bedroom with her, and I ate and I ate, and I would fast, and I would overeat, and I would binge, and I would starve myself, and then I would go on a diet, and then I would overeat. My sister never gained an ounce. I mean, of course, she gained weight as she grew, older. But she's tall and willowy with legs that are never ending, and I am shorter than her, and I am rounder than her, and I kept on gaining weight. And I can remember a time that one of those stark memories from your childhood was when I was 13 years old and I was trying to get into a pair of jeans. And I couldn't get the zipper to zip all the way up. And for any of you that have challenges with your weight, which are most people at some level, this is agony. I'm jumping up and down. I am laying on the bed trying to get the zipper done. And all I felt was extreme self-hate. The opposite of the kindness that heals. And of course I went on after that to gain more weight because I was trying to get away from that horrible feeling of being fat and being compared to my older sister. And I gained and lost, and then I ended up when I was 23 or 24, I gained 97 pounds in a year. And now I live a normal weight. I have for a number of decades now. I don't watch what I eat. I just eat what my body wants, what feels right. How did that happen? A good chunk of that is that I learned to open my heart to myself. Oh my God, my heart had, bars and locks and concrete walls with barbed wire all over them and bombs, or landmines, if I get anywhere near my heart, the landmine would go off. That's why I didn't want to live. It's because I was so far away from my own heart and I didn't know how to come home to my heart. And so I felt for many of those years a liquid self-hate. It's this feeling right underneath my skin. It's almost all over my body, but it's not in my calves and my feet, and it's not in my forearms and my hands, and it's not at the top in my skull. But in the rest of my body, I felt for years this liquid self-hate. That's the best way that I could describe it. And it's this, oh God, most uncomfortable sensation. And all I wanted to do was get away from it. And so I would go eat, which would make me gain more weight. And then I would try to control it, and I would go on a diet, or I would starve myself, and then I would eat more. And I eventually made it up to 220 pounds. All because I was trying to get away from this liquid self-hate. So, I learned how to be curious about this. I learned how to open to it. What do I mean by that? Stephen Levine, my main mentor, tells a story about a woman that was a nurse's aide in a hospital that had a hospice attached onto it. And she began to want to spend time with the older ones. They were mainly women, some men, but the older ones, and especially the ones that were dying. And she tells stories about this, and she tells what it was like when her approach was to get these people out of pain, and whether it's physical pain, mental pain, or emotional pain. And she says, gosh, I would just get resistance. And then she said, she began to realize that what they longed for was the heart. What they longed for was love. And she said, when I could sit with them and allow them to be right where they were. This is